Hey, welcome everyone. This will be a rather interesting and possibly slightly alarming video stream. It's not going to be very long today. I just discovered the other day something called the Taurids meteor shower. Okay, and now and then I check up on to see if there's any near Earth objects or potentially hazardous objects, as NASA classifies them, right? Ones that could potentially strike Earth. And we all can pretty much agree that if there was something coming to Earth to hit it and cause disaster, NASA and them wouldn't tell us about it anyways, right? To prevent public panic. So I keep that in mind as well. But I'm always checking now and then. And so far I haven't really found anything, that looks like a real red flag. The only red flag is like Bennu or Apophis, which are coming like way in the future. Okay, so long story short, while looking for any near-Earth objects or potentially hazardous objects, I came across some very startling articles. None of them from bogus websites. One's from the Washington Post, one's from Discovery Magazine, which is scientific, you know what I mean? And whatever the other source is. Oh, it's from scientists in Poland. And I check sure that my data's correct first, right? This stuff is real. This isn't bogus. It's not a conspiracy. This is dead real. Okay, and the reality is that the Taurid meteor shower, okay, the Earth goes through it every now and then. And this time, when we go through the Taurid meteor shower, there's a lot of very dangerous meteors in there. Some of them are like 1,000 meters long, okay? And what NASA and the scientists haven't been telling us is the following, okay? We've seen all these meteors hitting the Earth recently, right? The one in Russia, which leveled, tons of ground and injured thousands of people, even though it didn't actually hit anywhere, you know what I mean? And we had all these mysterious, like, greenish fireballs in America. We've had, now and then little meteors hitting down here or there, right? It's been picking up in the last year or so, undeniably. Okay? This could potentially be linked to the Taurids, but nonetheless, this is what we will be seeing when we go through the Taurids. Okay? Now, the scientists have said, and I'll read the articles in a moment, that these large meteors up in there, okay, which we'll be going through up to 1,000 meters long, okay, they're large enough to wipe out entire continents if they collide with the Earth. And NASA and them, they haven't been able to predict these meteors coming through, like the one in Russia. Did they predict it? No. They said, oh, we didn't see it coming. Okay, but at least we know that the Taurids are coming. But in the same fashion, they're not letting us know directly that, hey, continents could be wiped out here. They're not telling us that. But real science and real scientists and real, the Washington Post, for heaven's sake, is reporting it. So we have the very real possibility, okay, just before I read any of the information, we have a very real possibility, and it starts this year, it starts in June, okay, that by the end of June, over the next few years until around 2022, 2023, which fits in play with my end times stuff I've been talking about for ages, right? For these years, we're going to be going through the Taurids. So at any point during these years, we could have giant rocks up to 1 kilometer long, if I've got the numbers right, hitting the Earth and potentially wiping out continents at any given second. This is real. This ain't imaginary. Like, this is real, okay? I'm not smiling because I find it exciting. I don't know why I'm smiling, right? I'm just happy to report this, right? To make people aware. So, let's first read about what the Taurids are. I've only got 3 little articles to read, and I'm not reading the whole thing. I've got limited time, okay? One sec. It says the Taurids are an annual meteor shower associated with the comet Enki. Now, I find it ironic because Enki was the chief of the Anunnaki who came here, right? But anyways, it's not spelt the same, but it looks like it's pronounced the same, Enki. The Taurids are actually 2 separate showers with a southern and northern component. And usually when we go through them, it's not so bad. But this time, we're going through like the worst part of it, okay? That's why we could potentially see something dangerous. And it says the southern Taurids originated from comet Enki, while the northern Taurids originated from the asteroid 2004 TG10. They are named after their radiant point in the constellation Taurus, where they are often seen to come from in the sky. Because of their occurrence in late October and early November, they are also called Halloween fireballs. And a few years ago, when we went through the Taurids, okay, everybody was seeing these fireballs around Halloween, and that's what they were. Okay, and also to save some time here, the Tunguska meteor that collided in Russia like in 1904 or whatever it was and wiped out like 80 million trees and looked like, you know, something that might have killed off some of the dinosaurs. That was a Taurid meteor that happened during the Taurid meteor shower. The last time it was major. Okay, now if that Tunguska thing hit a populated city, if it hit a building, just one building like the World Trade Center, you'd have a 9/11, right? If that one that hit Russia a couple years ago or whatever hit an office building or hit a city, you would have a 9/11. But they're just pulling the wool over our eyes, making us think, oh, there's nothing to worry about. Come on. Okay? Now it says, now that stuff there is kind of immaterial. Who cares about that? The Taurids are flying at a rate of about 28 kilometers per second. 28 kilometers per second. Okay? 65,000 miles an hour. There's countless meteors in the Taurid shower. The big ones are the continent destroyers, okay? 65,000 miles an hour. Now, the Tunguska meteor, they say was about 100 to 200 feet in size, okay? Or meters, whatever, right? The point being, the Tunguska meteor is far outshadowed by the size of these continent destroyers that are in the Taurid shower, okay? That's the point there. It's either 100 or 200 feet or meters, right? And some of these Taurids, it says when they're at their peak, we'll be seeing 200, I think it's per hour, 200 per hour. That's a lot of material to be flying by Earth of all different sizes. You just can keep your fingers crossed and believe NASA that nothing might potentially hit us. Give me a break, okay? And the Taurid stream has a cycle of activity that peaks roughly every 2,500 or 3,000 years. Okay, when the core of the stream passes nearer to Earth, which I think is what's happening this time, it produces more intense showers. Okay, and this is due to it being the northern and the southern and just the way we're moving through space or whatever. Okay, now, yeah. And there were even Taurid meteor impacts on the moon. Okay, these meteors are very, very powerful. Okay, that's the basic information. Now let's get into the Washington Post article. Okay, it says, incoming, a June meteor swarm could be loaded with surprises. Scientists studying a mysterious event over Siberia in 1908 call for a special observation campaign next summer, which is now this summer. Okay, it says on June 30th, 1908, an object the size of an apartment building came hurtling out of the sky. Keep that in mind. An object the size of an apartment building. Okay, that's scary when you think of it like that. You just hear like 100, 200 feet. You know what I mean? And it's going at like 60,000 miles an hour, okay? Do you know why rail guns are so dangerous? You can put like a little object in a rail gun, and when you shoot it, it's purely because it's going so fast. It just has mass. It doesn't have explosive in it, and it can destroy cities. You know what I mean? It just, depending on how big the projectile is. These are 200-foot projectiles weighing inconceivable tons. They may not be going as fast as the thing shot out of a railgun, but come on, like, you know what I mean? It's pretty freaky, right? And it says it came hurtling out of the sky and exploded in the atmosphere above Siberia. Thank God it didn't hit, right? The Tunguska event, named for a river, flattened trees for 800 square miles. And it was 80 million trees. Trees are stronger than people. So we're lucky it hit a forest. What if it hit over a city? You know what I mean? It did what it did over the forest, but over a city. You'd have 80 million flattened people. You see my point? That's a global epidemic or whatever, you know what I mean, right? Pandemic, epidemic, whatever. It occurred, well, the Tunguska airburst stands as the most powerful impact event in recorded human history, and it remains enigmatic as scientists don't know the origin of the object or whether it was an asteroid or comet. The hypothesis is that it was a beta Taurid, one of the Taurids. Okay? And it goes on saying that, this science, a physicist from Los Alamos National Laboratory, pinpoints this evidence. It's a Washington Post article. I'm sure you can find it. And he says that all the evidence shows that it was a Taurids meteor shower. It happened at the right time. You know what I mean? It fits into the picture. I'm just going to save time reading all that information. So it says that he gave a presentation at the American Geophysical Union fall meeting in Washington this month, in which they called for a special observation campaign this June to search for Tunguska class or larger objects embedded in the Taurid showers. In some years, Earth passes near the densest cluster of material in the Taurid stream, and 2019 will be such a year. The scientists say it presents potentially the richest batch of incoming material since 1975, when seismometers left on the moon by Apollo astronauts recorded a spike in impacts during the Taurid swarm. It says if the Tunguska object was a member of a beta Taurid stream, then the last week of June 2019 will be the next occasion with a high probability for Tunguska-like collisions or near misses, their AGU presentation stated. While we're not predicting another Tunguska airburst event, an enhanced population of small near-Earth objects in the beta Taurids would increase the probability of another such event on or near next year's Tunguska anniversary, they concluded. They go on to say nobody should panic, this and that there, but let's all just keep this in mind and be reserved, okay? And they go on to say space is so big, the odds of things hitting us, but come on, you got stuff hitting the moon, you got these things hitting the Earth, and NASA says, oops, we didn't see it coming, and now we're being told we're going through this with continent destroyers, okay? Now, it's like in all recorded human history, the number of people killed by an asteroid impact is 0. That is not something that should be keeping you up at night, they said. Well, they told us an asteroid wiped out the Earth and killed all the dinosaurs. So how many times are you just going to gamble? It ain't going to happen while I'm alive. You see what I mean? Now, let's see. What else can I read here that's interesting? Here we go. Only 30% of the medium-sized objects, 460 feet in diameter or larger, medium-sized objects, have been spotted. Only 30%. Can they claim nothing will hit us? No. And she says only about 1% of objects have been found that are the size of the Tunguska impactor, which is about 130 feet in diameter, she says. Very interesting. But they say, they go on in this article from the Washington Post. Of course, they're not going to rile up the public for fear to try and comfort people in this and that there. But let's go over to what the Discovery magazine says, right? Sorry, Discover magazine. It says, from the June 1992 issue. See, they can warn people way back ahead of time, and they don't feel so guilty, right? They wouldn't do it right up at the moment. From 1992, it says, astrophysicists say the Taurids meteor shower could send dangerous rocks to Earth. It is believed that there are half a dozen full-size asteroids whose orbits place them squarely in the stream of Earth. Squarely. How often do you hear scientists saying that? Okay. Let's just skim through this massive article and see what could be interesting. They're mentioning Tunguska again. Let's read this here. Well, that's back in the past. They mentioned a time where Earth narrowly missed being hit by a mile-across meteor large enough to destroy a continent. And they mentioned the moon being impacted by them. Okay, so let's get into the Polish article. That's just from Discover magazine, but letting you know that it is acknowledging this, okay? But the juicy article here that I have to read is from Science in Poland .pap.pl. Okay, and if it will let me close this pop-up here, yes. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. Okay, this is an article from 2017, and it says Taurids can be a source of cosmic disaster. This is the final article I'll read on this, and then I'll wrap up the stream because I've got to get going. Okay, it says at the start of the article, like a little intro, it says, in the Taurids, there is a stream of cosmic bodies, the largest of which, in the event of a collision with Earth, can cause a continent-wide disaster, according to the observations of the Polish Fireball Network. The next encounter with the dangerous stream is in 2019. Okay? I don't want to read repeated information, so let's go through here. Okay, usually the Taurids are not an attractive meteor shower for observation. In their case, we can only expect 5 to 10 meters per hour. This is not much compared to the well-known Perseids, during which even 100 to 200 meters per hour can be seen. So let me just, I think I read that there could be up to 200 Taurids per hour. In case I got it mixed up with this, it's not a big deal anyways, but I just want to mention it just in case I made that little mix up earlier. Now, let's see. Okay. Observations of Polish astronomers working in the Polish Fireball Network, the PFN, show that in the Taurids there is a narrow stream of cosmic bodies, the largest of which, in the event of a collision with Earth, can cause a disaster on a continental scale. Moreover, this stream does not tend to disperse over time, but it is maintained stably by the resonance with the orbit of Jupiter. That is not the end of bad news. In 2019, there will be another Earth's meeting with the resonance stream, which is what we're talking about. This time, it will be a daytime encounter at the turn of June and July, just like during the Tunguska event. Excuse me. As if that weren't enough, the encounter will be even closer than during the very high and bolide intensive years 2005-2015, told PAP professor Arkadiusz Olek from the Nicolaus Copernicus Astronomical Center, PAS, in Warsaw. Scientists from the Polish Fireball Network have identified as many as 10 asteroids with sizes ranging from tens to hundreds of meters, 300 meters roughly to a kilometer. To 1,000 feet, okay? Which have almost the same orbits as Taurids. And if Taurids enter our atmosphere, causing the phenomenon of meteors, nothing stands in the way of an encounter with a larger object, especially that the Tunguska event, which was caused by such an object, with the size of about 50 to 150 meters, clearly shows that such things can happen, explained Dr. Olek. In the early 1990s, David Asher of the Armagh Observatory studied Taurids as part of the work of a doctorate. He noted that sometimes observers report that the Taurid maxims are higher than usual and contain a larger number of very bright meteors. His swarm model explained this behavior with the existence of a narrow and dense stream of particles, a dense stream of meteoroids, within the dispersed Taurid stream. When the Earth encounters that stream, Taurids are more active and display more light phenomena. Asher's model predicted that 2 very close Earth encounters with the resonance stream would occur in 2005 and then 2015, which would be the peak that was mentioned earlier, explained Dr. Olek. And let's move on to where it talks about... Okay, so that's the end of that article. There's no point reading the other stuff. And this is the final article I'm going to read from phys.org, short for physics.org. And is from this year, May 23rd, 2019. Study investigates potential risk of Taurid meteor swarm. It's got nice little computer graphics of the orbits and everything in space and the massive cluster of objects that the Earth is going through. It is bonkers huge. Okay? This will be the last thing that I read, then I've got to get going. This is a little bit more scientific. It says, when considering catalysts for catastrophic collision, there are 2 main sources: near-Earth objects, like asteroids and meteoroids, and interlopers from the outer solar system, which are typically comets. Okay? Over the past few decades, a great deal of effort has been expended in cataloging more than 90% of the potentially hazardous NEOs, and work is ongoing to detect, catalog, and track greater numbers and smaller sizes of these objects. The Taurid swarm is a third potential source of risk that changes the probabilities of possible catastrophic impacts. I'm in such a rush, I apologize. The Tunguska Russia explosion of 1908 is considered a 1 in 1,000 year event, assuming a random distribution of events over time. But the Taurid swarm, a dense cluster with the Taurid meteorite stream, and through which the Earth periodically passes changes the odds significantly and gives a possible reason for the unlikely occurrence that a once per 1,000 year event occurred just over a century ago, meaning Tunguska. Okay? Which what he's saying is it can happen more often than we would like to think or calculate. It says if the hypothesized might of the Taurid swarm is successfully proven, which it seems to have been, this also heightens the possibility of a cluster of large impacts over a short period of time. It goes on to say how they, if you want to find the site, it's phys.org, and then just search for the title 2019 Potential Taurid Meteor Swarm. Okay, you'll be able to find it if you do a search on a search engine. So I had some other article open that gave more detail on the fact that these meteors are continent destroyers, right? Wish I had that one open. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see if I can find that one. Taurids, 1,000 meters meteor. I don't want to waste too much time for people, but let's just put it this way. After I load the stream up, I can find the link and put the link in the comment section. Okay, it would only give a little bit more detail on the spectrum of size for these objects, right? But I can tell you now, some of them go up to 1,000 feet, 300 meters. Okay, that is huge, and they're traveling on average 65,000 miles an hour. Without a doubt, like the multiple articles have said, there would be continent destroyers. Okay, I don't wish that anywhere in the world, but we have to be on the lookout for even if smaller ones are coming through the atmosphere. The bigger they are, the more they're going to land, because the smaller they are, the more they're going to burn up. So we still have to be on the lookout for smaller ones. They could be the size of a house, and it could kill people. Okay, it could destroy towns or cities. We got to be aware of this, even if continents aren't going to be destroyed. Okay, but we know from the Bible, okay, that things like this are coming. Stars will be coming down from the sky. And I'm not talking about when the stars are falling. That's a symbolism for the messengers coming down to the earth, falling from the battle and everything. Okay, but we are told in Revelation separately that the star Wormwood is coming, and we're told about the messenger who's symbolized as a star who comes down and opens the pit. In my prophetic dream, there is a fiery star that comes down and appears to collide with the earth, sends off a massive energy bubble that sends the earth and then the earth goes into total darkness. Okay, so combining this with that, and we also know that there's going to be fire coming down from the heavens, and it may even say brimstone. In fact, it does say that. Okay, brimstone will not fall from the heavens. This would be a sign for brimstone. Looks like burning rocks, right? Those could be the meteors falling. So I think there's enough biblical evidence to say that we could potentially see a meteor shower, a very dangerous meteor shower in the end days. Even if it's only 1 or 2 meteors, say like Wormwood or whatever, that break through, we're going to see it. One of the first trumpets that goes off, I'm pretty sure it's one of the trumpets, says that a burning mountain will descend into the sea. What if that's the result of one of the continent destroyers? I'm not trying to make people afraid or paranoid, right? It's good to be prepared and know what is coming, okay? If it doesn't come, at least we were prepared. You see what I mean? I am not trying to make people afraid. Just make people aware. We all know fully that they would never tell us, okay? They would never tell us that something devastating is coming, because it would cause panic. They wouldn't. They'd tell us a couple hours beforehand when they got FEMA and the National Guard and whoever else around the world taking care of things, in their own respective countries. Okay, and they've been building the underground bunkers for over centuries, so that's where we would go. Whatever country would be in threat, they would just go underground to those bunkers. Okay, so I mean, the odds are, it's least likely for a large object to hit Earth, just because there's less of them. Problem is, there's a lot of the large ones, and even some of the smaller ones are still big enough to destroy cities. Or even if they explode in the atmosphere like Tunguska and don't even hit the earth, they could kill thousands and thousands of people. So anyways, people, you can go do your own research on that. I'll upload any other links that I can find, any credible links, onto my video afterwards. So God bless you all. Everybody prepare. appropriately. I'm not saying go down in bunkers and hide or anything stupid like that. Okay, just be prepared.